Perfect.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Trevor Dreyer. I'm delighted to see so many of you here tonight, and we get a chance to hear from our Ward 7 candidates. I want to thank each of our candidates for joining us, and important, for putting their name forward to serve our community as our Ward 7 council. We're pleased to have the sprawl. You might know this gentleman working on the video, Jeremy Clausen. He's video recording this debate. We're streaming it on YouTube, yes. I will tell you why he deserves that applause. This is his second debate today. He goes all around the city, and it's a media outlet for municipal election coverage. It's extremely valuable. And if you do have friends who are not able to make it here tonight, you will see the recording will be up shortly on YouTube, so that's great. I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. The Calgary area, where the Bow and the Elbow Rivers meet, is a place of confluence, where sharing of ideas and opportunities naturally come together, much like good politics. Indigenous people have their own names for this area, and they have been in use for long before Scottish settlers named this place Calgary. We appreciate and acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the ancestral national territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Kainai First Nations, and the city is also home to the historic Northwest Métis. We acknowledge all Indigenous people, but make Calgary their home. Before I ask the candidates to introduce themselves tonight, can I have everyone to turn their cell phones to mute, silence, or do not ring, so that we won't interrupt the candidates? Can I ask, to kind of get an audience participation piece, who kind of knows who they're voting for already? Where's the show of hands? I'm not going to ask you who, so I'm not putting you on the spot on that. Just curious. Okay. I'm going to ask again at the end of the evening, so we'll see if that's happened. For this evening, we have a mix of quick answer questions and also some questions that are going to allow for a deeper dive. And we're going to put them forward to each candidate. With each question, we'll begin with the next person in line, automatically changing the order of speakers. So if you go first, you're also going to have a chance to go last on the next one. Jim is my lovely timing volunteer. I will let you know the time for each question, but when there's 20 seconds left, he will boldly hold up the yellow sign. When he holds up the red, you're just going to get muted and we'll move on to the next person. And do not feel obligated to go right to the end of a question. If you are done, you can certainly move it along to the next candidate. Our goal is to give you a chance to shine this evening. After your prepared questions, as I was mentioning earlier, we will have time for a few audience questions, and we'd like you to write them down and hand them back. So there's little cards at the back. The lovely lady there has some cards. And Jason, where are you? Right here. That lovely gentleman right there is who you take those cards to. We will definitely have some time for those before we go. We're going to finish this at 8 o'clock. I'm a little bit of a zealot when it comes to time, so we will be done. But we're not keeping you out till 8:30, so you'll have an opportunity to talk to candidates, mingle as well. Our goal, again, for this evening is that everyone has a better understanding of each of these candidates and also how they carry out their role as counselor. Sounds good?
Yes.
All right, let's have some fun. We're going to start with a simple one, which is meeting our candidates. So Greg, this is going to be a 1-minute question. Beginning. Since it's year number one, can you please, in 1 minute, introduce yourself and let us know one thing that you'd like us to know about you?
My name is Greg Amoruso. I was born in Calgary. I was raised and lived in Tuxedo Park for over 50 years. I am a business owner. I've been in business for over 30 years, and I do support our small businesses in our communities. What else can I possibly tell you about me? I don't have all the answers to all the questions. I'm learning, but I spent the last 4 years. I ran 4 years ago as well. Spent the last 4 years trying to learn as much as I possibly can. For me, I'm very straightforward. If you ask me a question, I don't have an answer. I'll just let you know I don't have an answer. I'm not going to make it up, but I will get an answer for you. This way, you benefit and I benefit from the answers as well.
Thank you, Greg. Myke?
Hi, my name is Myke Atkinson. I'm running in Ward 7 as an independent candidate. I grew up here in Calgary, and I've been living in Ward 7 for the past 20 plus years. The last 15 years I've been raising my family in my house in Vail Trail, and I'm very connected to the ward. I worked up at CGSW at the University of Calgary for a number of years, and then most recently I was working at the library in the service design and innovation team. I'm a big believer in a vibrant inner city and having a great life in Calgary. And I really want to make sure that I can bring that to the policy and sort of the vibrancy within City Hall. That's something that we really need within the inner city. And we're facing a whole bunch of different issues in Ward 7 than the rest of the ward. And I think we need a strong local champion, and that's what I'm trying to bring.
Thank you, Mike. David?
Excellent, thank you. It's wonderful to see everyone here tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this and engaging in this process. My background, I'm a water scientist and a teacher up at the University of Calgary. And I'm running as your independent choice for Ward 7 councillor. I'm running right now because I do not have confidence that my 6-year-old will see themselves be able to afford or be able to want to stay in Calgary. I'm running because I've watched a lot of the university students that I teach become increasingly suffocated by skyrocketing costs of living. And I'm running because I think we need to build a more just and sustainable city, starting with Ward 7. I'm running because I've been a community advocate for a decade. I've done this through positions at a community association, including as a president through the local area planning process, a board member of multiple nonprofits, and a member of city committees, and as a parent. I have specific and data-driven plans to restore housing affordability, bring back neighborhood businesses and vibrancy, and make getting around our communities quicker, easier, and safer.
Ooh, well done. Heather?
Thanks very much, Trevor. So I have a communications background, and since 2021, I've worked in a leadership capacity in downtown Calgary. I've worked adjacent to businesses, to residents, to nonprofits, to post-secondary institutions, on important issues that are impacting our downtown. I've engaged on everything from office to residential conversions, the Green Line, supporting businesses through construction impacts. Think Marley at downtown, we did a better job. And supporting the presence of post-secondary campuses in downtown. Issues around safety were the top thing that I dealt with on a daily basis in the 3 years that I was downtown, especially safety impacts on women. My sweet spot is working collaboratively across organizations to find real solutions that bring real change. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
Hello, everybody. Let's start by saying, you know, anybody who has a hearing impediment, or somebody who has a speech impediment, or somebody who has ADHD. And the reason I ask that question is I do. And the reason I say that today is because I want to be sure that you clearly understand and hear what I say, because sometimes I'm being accused of mumbling. But the mumbling is not because I don't listen. I do listen. As a matter of fact, I listen harder than anybody else. That's my superpower, being able to listen to me to understand, digest. Having said that, though, I've been your counselor for the last 4 years, and before that, 30 years of administration of the city, many different departments, including the city manager's office, corporate bureau, selling index. I was set for 5 years, also was an outfit background before that. The most important thing I want to say to you is that for the last 4 years, I've attended every single council meeting. And David, of course, David's come to a number. But other than that, I will see the rest of there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry. And hey, round of applause. That was a good start. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't get enough applause in our regular life, so it's good every once in a while to get that. You guys are warmed up. We've had the warm up. And so now we're going to start with a question. And Mike, this will start with you. This is a 2-minute. So again, he's not going to show you the card for a little bit longer. In Ward 7, 63% of residents actually drive or are passengers in a car to work, and 37% use other means, transit, walking, bike. I don't know how else they get there. So that's a 2/3, 1/3 split between cars and others. I'd like to start with you, Mike. What priorities do you have for Ward 7 for 1/3 who are walking, biking, or taking transit, or for the 2/3 of those people who use cars?
Sure. So I've been actually a long time transit advocate here in Calgary. I'm a big believer in making sure that the city is very accessible. Obviously, Calgary is a city that you need. People often say you need a car to get around Calgary, but actually the truth is you need wheels to get around Calgary. What those wheels are and how those wheels get you around, those can be in different ways. And strong public transit is a really great way to move a lot of people around and meet the needs that we have, especially within the inner city. But we haven't been investing in those things, right? We have not sort of seen the investments in transit. We've been seeing things like a stalled green line, and just overall lack of investment in our wheeling infrastructure for other modes of transportation, for bikes and these other supportive ways of getting around. I've got some issues that I really want to bring to bear. I was part of the advocacy efforts with this last council to bring the age of fare-free transit from 5 to 12 years old. And I really want to bring this all the way to 18. I think our children need to have fare-free access to get onto any bus or train in the city and get around. It helps with congestion during peak times and getting to school. It helps with families being able to afford. We have an affordability crisis also on our hands, and putting a little bit of money back into families' pockets is something that transit can do. And having more people riding transit is what also makes it safer. There's the safety that comes in the community ridership. When we saw transit ridership crater over the pandemic, that was some of the scariest times on transit. And what we really need to do is we need to encourage these other forms of transportation and get people moving and riding around in our city in various ways, like bikes too.
Thank you, Mike. David, same question on to you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for the question. I have been a mobility advocate. I have been fighting for improved infrastructure, for wheeling, for getting around, for better sidewalks for over 10 years in my community. I have experience getting that infrastructure from square one, the concept, and advocating at the city to acquire that funding and move it along. We need, as we grow as a city, we want to be more sustainable. We need to fund our transit properly. We need to fund our bike and wheeling infrastructure properly, and we need to invest in communities and making them more walkable and safe. I have a plan to fund an improved wheeling infrastructure build out that ties our infrastructure investment to percentage of use. So you said 1/3, already we've got the need, we've got the demand, and as we continue to grow as a city, we look inwards, we're trying to grow more sustainably, we need to have those options available. It also helps if we're investing in wheeling and transit, it helps make it easier for those that are driving as well. Some people do need vehicles to get around. By placing or having bikes in a protected environment, by having transit that is reliable and safe, we actually move people out of the way so that those in cars, also have their ability to get around. Tying that also with traffic calming and traffic safety, we need to make sure that our communities do not become thoroughfares. We need to invest in traffic calming. Another thing that I have advocated tirelessly for at the community association level, at the city and at city council. The big thing is this comes down to budget. We have had multiple budget discussions along the way, and we just don't fund transit the way that we need to. We do not fund the alternatives to driving the way that we need to. And honestly, we're not even investing in our roads for those that are driving the way that we need to either. This comes down to our budgeting and the budgeting decisions that our current council have made. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Heather.
Yeah, certainly mobility is a very big issue in all of our inner city communities, not just in Montgomery. But knocking the doors in Montgomery this last week, what I've heard loud and clear is the desire for stronger transit supports in the community. Stronger transit would enable more people to use transit as an option. And it certainly has been incumbent upon council to make that larger investment in transit. It's great to see the bike lanes on Bowness Road. It's frustrating to hear about the congestion that's being created by backed up cars on Bowness Road, on the cut through traffic, people going through community. So we need a larger mobility strategy for all of Ward 7 that will help to address the impacts that are making our communities feel less walkable. For transit in particular, because we do have an aging senior population, and I think it's really important that we make those investments in transit for our aging seniors. We need to build a bold future for transit. This means building the entire Green Line and making sure that we are investing in bus frequency, more reliable bus service through areas like Montgomery. We need a transit system that respects the rider, that feels safe, that comes on time, that moves people efficiently, better signage, better bike parking at our stops. And we need safety by design. We need to increase the presence of peace officers on our transit. We need to improve lighting. We need to install more CCTV to help deter crime and have faster response times. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Barrett?
Transportation, transit, and mobility. Have you ever got up on a, Saturday morning or Sunday on a Wednesday and got stuck in traffic because of snow? Have you ever gotten up and, for those that cycle, got up and gone to the pathway, and realized the pathways are clogged with snow? November 2021, within a month of being on council, I was able to add $10 million to clearing our roadways, to get priority one roadways cleared within 18 hours, not 24. Also, 100% of our pathways cleared of snow, all within the first month of being on council. Over and above all that, we've made investments in transit, but we haven't improved it enough. When I talk to people in Montgomery, back during the flood of the Montgomery break, one of the questions I asked them was, how's the transit system working for you? And the answer was, it isn't. We can't get downtown fast enough, no doubt. One of the things I tried to push for, and we didn't succeed, was getting the Max Orange line to get us across transit, across down the street. Those are things that we're trying to do. There's a lot that in front of it that needs to be spent. Just everything that people have said before us, no doubt. We need to improve our transit system. But having said that, we also need to improve our bike lanes. And in talking about the bike lanes again, not only clearing the snow, but as many of you have seen on Atkinson Road from Crowchild all the way up to 14th Street, we closed the roadway there, primarily for pedestrian safety, for kids going to school, but also for cyclists to get all the way across town. We're looking at 20th Avenue right now, a 20th Avenue strategy for bike lanes and vehicles and parking all at the same time. The last thing I'll talk about that is the green line. We have invested in.
Thank you, Terry. Greg, same question to you.
Mine's about transit. I'm a strong supporter of transit, C-Train. My biggest concern is the C-Train platforms. We have to get more safety on C-Train platforms. We have to make it so if you don't belong on there, you can't be standing there. This is when I see people are on there. Usually they're the ones causing a few problems here and there. If you're on, you're on a train. If you don't belong on a train, get off of it. Same with bus drivers, they need more protection for the drivers. I'd like to see more buses out there for all too. But if we improve our transit, more buses, more people, hopefully less congestion. That's what I'd like to see.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. It's a good start, guys. Thank you. Our next question, actually, you've addressed a little bit. It's specific towards the Green Line. I don't think we should miss this as a project. It's a project that directly affects Ward 7 throughout our neighborhood. I'm going to quote from a recent project update, and I'll actually read this twice. It says a functional plan will advance design, validate the province cost estimates, understand potential impacts to existing infrastructure, and ensure the project is broadly supported by Calgarians prior to starting construction. Again, a functional plan will advance design, validate the province's cost estimates, understand potential impacts to existing infrastructure, ensure the project is broadly supported by Calgarians prior to starting construction. You each have 2 minutes. David, we're going to start with you. What do you see Ward 7 role in that functional plan?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The Green Line is something we've been talking about for over a decade. We've been talking about it for a long, long time. What we had unfortunately on this last council was an inability to work with the province to actually get this done, to actually see the politics that were coming and get ahead of it. As a result, we have a shorter line that is not reaching most places in Ward 7. We don't have the line to where there is demand north of the river. The city administration really needs to prioritize getting shovel ready for the north of the river leg, so that as soon as we get funding partners aligned, we are able to execute on this. We have had an unfortunate bungling in our downtown with the raised elevation being pushed upon the city and unfortunately not being advocated against or pushed back against. As a result, we've got a short line that is more expensive and the costs only keep rising. Ward 7 deserves better transit. They have been promised the Green Line for over a decade. We need to start building it now. We need that north of the river lake as soon as possible. We need to be ready for when there are people willing to come to the table and fund it. The functional study is a part of that, is getting there. We need to be expediting this. It needs to be ready in the next 18 months. We need to be moving faster on this. Our Ward 7 neighborhoods just cannot wait.
Thank you, David. Heather.
Well, I'd like us to be clear about why we have seen the delays in the Green Line that we have seen. And it is 100% provincial meddling in what is municipal responsibility. I am proudly running as part of the Calgary Party. We have a mayoral candidate in Brian Thiessen, who is a lawyer whose expertise is negotiation. We need a hard reset with our relationship with the province of Alberta. We need an individual who understands negotiation, who understands talking to each audience in the language that they use, so that we can get the Green Line back on track. We have spent millions and millions of dollars, and I can tell you the impacts have been felt throughout downtown, which is all part of Ward 7. Please know that up to 9th Avenue, from East Village to West Downtown, is all part of our Ward 7 community. We have spent millions and millions of dollars on moving utilities in downtown. It has been an inconvenience to businesses. To put anything above the ground on 10th Avenue and 2nd Street, going Brookfield Properties is losing their minds. They would have a train traveling between Bankers Hall and Bankers Court. And there's just happens to be a +15 in the way and a parkade. So the line has got to get back onto its original plan. We need a strong negotiator. I think that negotiator is Brian Thiessen with the Calgary Party. And as a member of the party, I am there to support those investments on behalf of Ward 7.
Thank you, Heather. Terry.
Thank you. I have an advantage, obviously, being on council. But my question to everybody is this: how many people actually paid attention to the political drama that happened a year ago with the Green Line? And thank you. When you listen to the political drama that happened with the Green Line, a lot of it was, fighting between the province and the city. But what you don't know was there's a lot of fighting within council itself. There's an intrinsic movement within council about this way, this way, this way. We can't negotiate this way, this way, this way. We can't talk to them this way, this way. We got stuck. That was a fault of council because there were a certain block of council members that just believed this is it. We want it our way. We can't negotiate with them. We want it our way. Don't let us push us. That was the problem we have with the Green Line. We need council members that are truly independent in their thinking. They're truly able to understand the forest of the trees and do the right things. A year ago, when this came forward, I challenged our mayor when the province said, we're not going to fund more than 1.56. I said, there's an option here. And the answer was, no, we're not pursuing it. So we got stuck with the option of canceling it for $2 billion, building half of it for what we cost, or going all the way for $2 billion at your tax dollars. All three bad options. I pushed against that. When the province finally came on board in September, we pushed against again because said, no, we don't want to go underground. We want to go above ground. I said, no, you can't do that, folks. And the mayor wanted to give up. Everyone wanted to give up. They want to push again. No, the answer is we need people who know how to negotiate, people who understand collaboration amongst councillors, people who understand the rules of engagement, not politics. Now, I try to push against that. I wasn't going both up there. Okay. One last thing I'll say, well,
Oh, sorry. Save that for later. Thank you, Terry. Great.
I just find this Green Line to be a complete catastrophe. Whoever's negotiating it is, what needs to happen is you have to get people in office and the province to sit down, it's almost like not start from scratch, but straighten out what the problem is. You were paying so much money to have to a certain distance. Now they've shortened it, costs more money as we've heard here. And for me, I would like to sit down almost start from scratch and say, let's figure this out again. You can't start from the middle with a new council and say, let's repair this. It has to be from start to finish with what we have, but it has to be straightened out. That's all I can say about the Green Line. We need to have it here, but we need to find a way to everybody work together. If city council have a problem in fighting, hopefully the next group that comes in will actually work together and with the province.
Thank you, Greg. Mike?
When my parents moved here, they moved to Huntington Hills, which is straight up center and sort of like right up north. And at that time, they were talking about building a train line. Here we are in 2025, and we're just starting to build, not a train line up north, right? Not where we know where the ridership is. The 300, the 301, these are some of the busiest routes anywhere in the city going up Center Street. There is a high ridership going up Center Street, and that is where we need to build this kind of high frequency transit. We've wasted a lot. We've wasted a lot. We've had experts, like world-class experts, working on these plans within our city for years, finding the alignment, finding the right way to do it, and then we threw it all out. And it's not just on our council, for sure. It is definitely also hanging on the province. We have a province who has been quite combative in this entire process. But Tara's right, that there has been combat within our council. We were not trusting the people, the experts that made the alignment and got behind it. And because of that, we as taxpayers are paying a lot more for a lot less. We need to be building this important infrastructure, investing in the future of our city. Building the Green Line properly and getting it in the ground is super, super important. And getting it across the river to where people are and where the ridership is critical. So that is the next step. We really need to put things along and make sure that we get it north of the river and to the communities that it will serve up north. These people have been waiting for decades. That is Ward 7, but that is Ward 3 and all the communities up into the north. We need to get the train where the people are.
Thank you, Mike. Another round of applause. I think I'm not biased when I say you guys are doing great so far, so keep it up. That is absolutely awesome. Just as a friendly reminder, if you do have questions, the lovely lady at the back has a piece of paper, and then you can give them to Jason, that gentleman over there, because in a couple of minutes, you're going to be coming up and we're going to be doing 1-minute questions from the audience. We couldn't have this conversation without talking about density, could we? I don't think we could. It's a complicated issue. We're going to give everyone 2 minutes to answer this one. Our city's growing, and every ward will need to add housing to meet the demands. There's some 58,000 new people to house in 2025 alone. Many Ward 7 residents have seen new buildings near them over the past few years. Many of those new buildings are adding many units, 2, 4, 8, 12. Against all of that, inner city land is expensive, which means those new builds aren't helping with part of the affordability challenge. What do you feel we need in Ward 7 to meet increased housing demands, and how will you help to get it right? Heather, I'm starting with you on this one.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. There's absolutely no doubt that this conversation is a complex one. And I think that the city has done a horrible job introducing rezoning into our established communities. There is also no doubt that we need more inventory of housing. What we don't talk about is the complexity of housing and the housing continuum. So we need more housing, non-market affordable housing. We need more market affordable housing, but we need more housing across the continuum. Because when somebody can afford to move up into something that has been built, that is a townhouse, maybe at $750,000, they're leaving behind something at a lower rate. So it creates a bit of a tumble down effect. That said, we need to do a better job working with our established communities, protecting the character of our communities. We have not done a good job introducing the density. I talk to residents all the time who understand the need to build up because we cannot afford to continue to build out, but we need to do so respectfully. And I also think that the city needs to be meeting the mobility challenges that they're creating through the additional density in advance of introducing that density. If we had better bus service in Montgomery to support the density that is coming, perhaps we wouldn't be seeing some of the pushback that we're getting. But I'll tell you what made my heart sing this week when I was door knocking in Montgomery was when I door knocked on 2 back units on an 8-plex and met 2 lovely women, single women, older women, who are living in your community now because of the density that's been added. One was an author and the other was a single mom. And after I left their doorstep, they continued chatting about other things that they had in common. That's the kind of community building that we want to be doing. Let's better support it in order to move forward more productively.
Thank you, Heather. Terry.
Yeah, we talk about like rezoning, it's ours, all across the Ward 7. But I'm gonna ask a question, how many people who are putting up with, densification in your area when you talk about parking, or when you talk about garbage cans, or when you talk about lack of amenity space, or talk about the destruction of trees. We talk about all the densification and we're taking away the quality of your community, quality of your life. Now, I don't disagree with what Heather says, but we have to balance housing with many other things. When you think about urban development is about your infrastructure. It's about your amenities, it's about your environment, it's about your mobility as much as it's about housing. And you have to balance that all together. It's also about balancing education, making sure you have the schools in place. This is what it's all about. But when you balance, when you do a micro rezoning, everything goes in there at lightning speed, and you don't even do a census to know what the population is and whether you have the infrastructure capacity to do it, we have a problem. And that's the thing we need to solve. We need to have smart growth. We need to go back to, the things that we talk about, 7 solutions that we have, and those that have a chance to take a car later. 7 solutions about taking care of smart growth, not lack of zoning. Making good valued use of tax dollars, not just only at things that you want to go as opposed to, right? It's also about ensuring that safety and security are in your communities, in your places. This is what it's all about. Our job in council is to counsel for everyone, to counsel for communities, to counsel for safety. And this is what it's all about. No doubt we have a population growing 220,000 over the last 40 years. We need to house them, right? But one of the fundamental realities of affordability is the real estate market dictates. And the thing that we need to challenge for is not that.
Thank you, Terry. Greg.
Myself, I'm all for growth, but I do not like this blanket rezoning one bit. It's like they said, you can build whatever you want, when you want, how you want. They take no consideration, any council take no consideration to parking, green space, and safety. You have single dwelling homes, and now you put in an 18-plex right in the middle of the block. Okay, where are you gonna park the cars? What about the kids running around? I noticed that throughout the city here, they're building these monster plexes near schools, okay? So you have a 20-plex there, that's 20 more cars on the road, no parking. This is a concern for me. You have 20 cars, possibly 40, depending if you have 2 per unit, and it's a danger. The city council did not plan this properly. If you're gonna have a big complex, first of all, you gotta be careful because you're gonna kill the property values of the properties around you. I don't like big complexes in the middle of single dwelling residential. There has to be more control over this, and if you're gonna build something big, you have to be able to provide the parking, not on the street, in the building. This is my concern with blanket rezoning. I'm not a fan of it at all. I would like to do something if get into office.
Thank you, Greg. Myke.
I've been knocking across the ward for months, and this has to be the conversation that I've had the most with folks everywhere. We are concerned about the loss of the tree canopy, or loss of heritage and sort of character in our neighborhoods, privacy as these new buildings are going up, garbage on site, all kinds of things, right? But at the same time, we have an opportunity here to get it right. As you know, living in Montgomery, I live in Bear Trail. We've been seeing actually this kind of multi-unit residential being built for 10+ years. This is not something new that just came in when blanket rezoning was passed over this past year. We've been seeing it all get voted in one by one, 94% of the time before blanket rezoning came in. Council has been voting this kind, right? So the thing is that it has not been shared equitably across the city. We have many communities that were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s that are very low density. They are nothing near the density that we have in the inner city. And they are not sharing in taking on the housing challenge that we have right now. We have a lot of land in this city, and by having it shared blanket wide across the city, we have an opportunity to fix the mistakes of decades of council sprawling our city out and making an unsustainable city. The problem is that the way that the rules are written right now, it can only land in our neighborhoods. You have to have a back alley to fit 4 units and put this parking on the site. There is not the back alleys in Silver Springs Ranchland style housing. We need to get in there with a scalpel and fix the rules so this can be shared equitably. And when it is done so, like that, we will start to see that housing is shared across the city and not just a burden that is being put onto the inner city like it has been for the past 10 years.
Here, here. Thank you, Mike. David?
Awesome. Thank you for the question. Agreed. This is a very contentious topic, obviously. It's one that I have a lot of experience navigating. As a community association president, I helped guide our community through the guidebook for great communities, if anyone remembers that, and the North Hill Communities Local Area Plan. I am used to having these contentious discussions, these hard discussions about how and where we should grow. The challenge that we have seen is that we have seen it concentrated in a lot of Ward 7 neighborhoods, and we haven't seen the commensurate investment in infrastructure, in programs, in facilities, in transit, in these key things that we need to make living in a more dense city viable. The rezoning does help spread the density across the community, so it's not concentrated only in Ward 7, but this is our opportunity also to work and get more neighbors in our neighborhood, right? We need to continue building more housing to combat the housing crisis, but we also must make sure that we have better and faster transit connections, significant infrastructure upgrades, and more deeply affordable housing units. At the same time, we need to hold our developers accountable. Density should not have to cost us tree canopy, for example. And if we're able to be a little bit more flexible in our zoning requirements, we can come up with developments that are more contextual to the site and neighborhood while building that much needed housing. Like your rezoning, the data has done a good job of building new market-based housing, right? It has slowed the increase in cost down. What we need to do now is further invest in our non-market housing options. We need to make sure that we're addressing the pressing housing issues head on and through all avenues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Well done. Yes, I would imagine that you would have all heard that at the doors as you're knocking in terms of that. I want you to flex your creative muscle a little bit on this one. You have been given, the federal government has given a stimulus program, and guess what? Ward 7's getting $30 million. There's no strings attached. You can put this to a project or projects that you think would benefit Ward 7. Terry, you get to start with this one. So Ward 7 councillor, what projects would you support with the 30 million? And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for that. A year ago, we had a water feeder main break. And there's a lot of time, taken to have to rebuild that water main. But it's not just a water feeder main that's the critical issue. The critical issue is the water distribution network into your homes. When we had the water feeder main break, one of the questions I asked was, how many water feeder main breaks are happening in Ward 7 and where are they happening relative to other communities? There are a lot of water feeder main breaks in Ward 7 because we are the border community. And a lot of them are actually in Bowness and Montgomery. And so we're talking about spending $30 million, and $30 million just barely scratching the surface. We need to take a look at our water distribution network into your communities, into your homes, to make sure that, again, when it comes to winter time particularly, when you turn the taps on, you've got water, you've got good pressure. We use about 20% of our water into the ground. This is something that's costing you through your utility bills. We need to again get on top of our water distribution network so we can get back to affordability, so we get back to safety and reliability on your water network. water is essential to quality of life. And that is where I spent first $30 million is in terms of trying to figure out where the issues are. You can't solve a problem all at one time, but you have to be able to solve where the critical risk issues are. And that's where the first $30 million was going.
Thank you, Sarah. Great.
This is just basically fantasy money we're talking about.
Well, the federal government gave it to us, so yes, fantasy money indeed.
So it's basically it was mainly transportation, getting people around. If they like Bonus Road, I would like to open it back up again, get that flowing. Probably proper parking for the houses that are there and be able to get through. For me, it's just about getting around. More buses, more transportation. I'd like to be able to say, as Terry was saying, getting into the ground and cleaning up our sewer problems, but that's 30 million won't cover that. But just more about getting people to where they need to go. And just clearing the roads. And being, like I say, more buses.
Thank you, Greg. Mike.
So my younger girls were in grade 6 this past year, and they got a free Y pass. And so where do we have to go to the YMCA? Now that the downtown YMCA is no longer around in Ward 7. We have to drive all the way up to Crowfoot. And if you're going to Crowfoot, you might as well just keep on going down Coach Island, go to the spaceship that is Rocky Ridge YMCA, because it's a great facility. But we do not have 1 acre of land to land a facility like that in the inner city. It's just not something that we have, right? But we do have a lot of opportunities in actually vacant buildings. And spots within the city that the city owns. Think about all the acquisitions that we've done for the Green Line. There's an old fire station in Banff Trail that I know of. I know there are vacant buildings right here in Montgomery that are city owned, and we could actually turn these into small bits of recreation, right? Where is the little maker space for our teens? Where is the climbing gym? Where is the pool? You know, we have to stop closing down inner city livability. We lost the Beltline pool, we lost the YMCA, we just lost Vacova up the hill, right? These are important things that make living in Ward 7 why we want to live here, right? We shouldn't be, as inner city people, having to drive out to the suburbs to access these important critical services that make life worth living in Calgary. Calgary is a great city. It's beautiful. We've all chosen to live here because of what we get access to, right? We're by the mountains. We're in a beautiful city. We've got a river running right by us that is just gorgeous. But part of that is also making sure that the infrastructure that supports our lives, how we get around, the pedestrian infrastructure, these little things, a lot or a little bit of money can go a long way if we just think creatively about how we use the tools that we have at our disposal.
Thank you, Mike. David.
Excellent. First of all, I love to hear that everyone's talking about water. That's my background. I've worked a lot in the Bow River and with infrastructure. I'm very excited that water is high up there. And subsequently, I'm going to say that a big portion of that should go into our investing in our infrastructure. We have a citywide infrastructure deficit as of 2021 of over $7 billion. So $30 million, we're going to have to ask for a few more. I know it's not the fun thing. It's not the ribbon cutting that we want, but it is critical to make sure that we are investing in that aging infrastructure, especially as we begin to grow and we begin to add density. My second one is, I'll push back a little bit. I'll say we do have space to build our recreation facilities in the inner city. We have plots of land where existing facilities are that have more capacity, but we also don't need mega centers. We need community scale recreation facility investment. We need to invest in the infrastructure that we already have here, be it community associations, be it Shoulder Athletic Park and the pool. We need to make sure that those don't suffer the same fate that Inglewood Pool did. We need to invest in that ahead of it. We also have a lot of space for that. $30 million in the big scheme of things, you know, we can wave our arms at it. We've got a lot, again, from an infrastructure point of view, we have a lot of investment that we need to do to make sure that we are out of that infrastructure deficit of over $7 billion. I think primarily it should go towards that, and then making sure that our recreation is accessible in the inner city. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Heather.
Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, unfortunately, $30 million sounds like a lot of money, but unfortunately, it's really not these days, so thanks for that. But the conversations I've had in community with some aging community infrastructure, think about Mount Pleasant, Kilhurst, Sunnyside, West Kilhurst. We could really use with some reinvestment in the existing facilities. Our infrastructure in our established communities is very inadequately funded based on current funding models. And that funding is very constrained. So when you have a community association that is separate from a arena, which is separate from a swimming pool, the way that those are funded means that they're all grossly underfunded. So we need to address that for our inner city communities across Ward 7. So we have a lot of volunteers spending way too much time fixing shingles on buildings, replacing furnaces, trying to get permits from the city of Calgary. It's a really common narrative. There are some communities that are looking at turning their facilities back to the city because they can ill afford the time and effort that it takes to repair and maintain what are city assets. For my money, that little $30 million, Trevor, I think that we could make a big difference in some of our communities that way.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. Please say no, I upped that from 10 million when we were originally working on the question, so I'm glad that probably moved it up. We do have a number of audience questions, and we're gonna move to 1.5 minute answers now. So Greg, you'll be starting with this one. These are questions that our audience is really coming, and we've done our best, audience members, to group them together. The first one's on safety. It doesn't seem like you can take a walk into the downtown, which is definitely part of our Ward 7, without seeing something that makes you concerned for your safety. Can I ask you what you will do to promote safety within our ward? Right?
The simple answer is more police, but also too, we also do have transit building. It's not as easy to bring more police to, on the job because so many are retiring every year and so many are coming in. This is something that we have to get more of our peace officers running around, our transit police. Everybody has to chip in and do more just driving around. If there's an issue, they can contact the police, they can come in, we have to have more eyes on the road. Simple as that. To get more police officers is really difficult because they only have so many classes per year. It's like if you have 5 classes per year, there's about 4 other classes retiring that same year from 25 years previous. This is just going to have more eyes, more communication.
Thank you, Greg. Mike.
So you're all engaged folks, you're showing up to this debate. Do any of you remember there was a 10-year plan to end homelessness that was announced years ago, right? Like this was a thing that we sort of like at least aspired to, at least in language, maybe not in execution, right? But these days, it seems like council is just sort of throwing up our hands and sort of saying, oh, it's too complex, right? It's too much. We're not actually gonna do anything about it. We actively have to start working on getting people housed, period. It's the only way to start making, it's good obviously for the people that are suffering on our streets. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our family members, right? That are on our streets and suffering, but it is good for us. It is good for the livability of Ward 7. It is good for the ability to walk around in a vibrant city and enjoy downtown. It is good for the buildings and the businesses downtown and having a healthy and vibrant downtown, which helps generate taxes and create a vibrant place for arts and culture in our city, right? This is a major hub, and we actually actively have to start working on it. So we have to give a roof over people's heads. We have to stop sort of this idea of it's too complex to deal with. And we have to also at the same time, in the meantime, because building on this housing is going to be difficult, fund these teams like the Doe team, the Alpha House, the Barrett. These are organizations, grassroots organizations that are doing a lot of work in the homelessness sector and picking up the slack where our emergency services cannot.
Thank you, Mike.
Here.
David.
Hopefully that doesn't even to my time. No, I just want to clarify too, public safety isn't just a downtown issue. This is something that we're feeling through all of our inner city communities. And I want to also acknowledge that most people in the doors take an empathetic view to this. People do not want to see people in distress and down, experiencing some of the worst times of their lives. Calgary so far has deployed police to solve a homelessness crisis, and it's not working. Ticketing and jailing unhoused people on the streets doesn't solve addiction and doesn't find them a permanent home. We need genuine housing first solutions that include wraparound services, things that we cannot build currently with our zoning requirements easily. We need to address the root cause of the issue, which is getting stability and a roof over people's head. That means building truly affordable housing with wraparound addictions treatment services and supports. That means funding daytime spaces so that people can grab a hot meal and get connected to permanent housing and have things to do during the day. That means expanding the city's health response team, staffed with social workers instead of police, and supporting grassroots community teams. Even the Calgary police agree that they aren't the solution. Housing first is.
Here, here. Thank you, David. Heather.
Yeah, such a complex issue and one that I dealt with every day over the 3 years that I worked with the Calgary Downtown Association. The mental health issues, the drug addiction impacts, the growing unhoused population. There's a lot of complexity here. I was part of a group of individuals that actually went to the mayor's office looking for action. And the action we were looking for was for the mayor to work productively with the provincial government, or at least bring them to the table, or at least introduce the conversation, because we need more supports in order to really address the problem. The city cannot do it on its own. The police, we will not police our way out of the current situation. And I will say the police have got some very effective programs. The PAC programs are great. They're simply not enough. There are not-for-profits, many not-for-profits that are trying to address the issues. They work 9 to 5. We have nobody on street from 6 to 6 overnight. That is when the problems are the most acute. So we have got to find solutions that are 24 hours a day. Yes to housing first, and I will add that the Calgary Party actually has a formal housing first policy, and then we need the wraparound services. But in order to provide those wraparound services, we have got to get the province to the table. We have got to hold their feet to the fire. If they are not responding, we have got to keep the narrative in the media and not back down. It's going to take dogged determination and some fresh voices.
Thank you, Heather. Harry.
Thank you. There's no doubt that safety security is important. And
in council, we heard a lot about Lions Park, for example, the LRT station. We heard a lot about Sunnyside LRT station. People in encampments, people sleeping rough, people dumpster diving. In the first couple of 3 years, we were able to allocate more resources to take care of those chronic issues. But that's just scratching the surface. Over and above all that, we need to be able to find the proactive sort of solution to get there. There's no doubt housing is a critical issue about that. But at the end of the day, when you take a look at it, it's not just the housing. You got to get back to the root cause of what the issues are. Are there family issues? Are there employment issues? What is putting people out there to force them into a drug habit or alcohol or homelessness? What is it? We need to get to those issues first and foremost. Once we get there, yes, there's ways in which we provide recovery and treatment. And not to say, for example, that we don't prevent people from dying. Certainly, safe consumption is an important part of that drug but we also need to put on the road of recovery. So working with the province, working with Alberta Health, working with the city is extremely important in doing that. Policing, is there enough? No. We need more police, but more importantly, what we need to do is provide policing in the locations that they need. A downtown station, as an example. We also need to provide dignity spaces, where people can go to the washroom without having to, loiter in the back of the alley.
Again, round of applause. That's we weren't sure if this question came up, so I'm kind of glad it did, because this is one of the first elections where you could be part of a municipal party. You could choose to or not to. And so what I'm going to ask each of you candidates in a minute and a half is, why did you choose to run under a political party banner, or why did you choose to run as an independent? Myke?
Sure. So I worked at the Calgary Public Library for the past 5 years, part of my portfolio is to get people to be civically engaged, right? To show up to forums, to to go out and vote at the end of the day. And I think that this sort of like local representation, for me, it was my way into learning and loving the importance of the government, ways the government plays a factor in our lives. It was at a municipal level. The issues I think about all day are transit and, you know, how we get around, how we build our built environment, these kinds of things. So being able to get your 5 minutes at council and actually speak to the councilors was actually like a very sort of important way for me to like learn and grow and get engaged. But what I worry about with this party system coming on is that we are going to lose that connection, right? Local councilors are supposed to be representatives of their local wards. They're supposed to know the issues and be bringing them forward and be able to advocate strongly. And in Ward 7, in the inner city, we have very different issues than all the other wards on the edges of the city. So we need to make sure that inner city issues have strong representation at the council chamber. And we're not sort of losing that to a party focus, right? Our issues within Ward 7 are very, very different. And I want to make sure that I can bring that to City Hall.
Thank you, Mike. David?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I am proudly running as an independent. I have written an op-ed about this. I have said loud and clear that I do not believe that parties in the municipal system will bring good governance. You know, all it will do will lead to more tribalism and entrenchment, not the needed collaboration that we require. We have examples sitting at the table of folks formerly with the party, those that have other, avenues of support that are getting direct lines in. I am running as a grassroots independent campaign. Nobody is running straw man polls for me. Nobody is funding or throwing money. From that aspect, I'm not beholden to a mayor or somebody else who's a political consultant behind the scenes. I am running as an independent so I can represent you at City Council. Our neighborhoods need local representation. They don't need entrenched tribalism that the party system will bring.
Thank you, Dave. Heather?
Well, you got some spicy responses going here, Trevor, with this whole question. So I want to just set the record straight. Being part of a party has not stopped me from knocking as many doors as I can get to. I am still wholly invested in what is important in Ward 7, and I'm having really robust conversations at the doors, and I will continue to do that. None of us asked for a party system. Our provincial government introduced them. We had a look at what the rules were, and we decided that we needed to leverage all of the tools in the toolkit to ensure that we were getting our voices out. But let me speak to this idea that one person is going to move the dial on anything on council. You need to get the support of other councillors in order to get anything done on council. So you can pound the desk all you want. If you cannot negotiate and work collaboratively with your council colleagues, you're not going to get anything done. So the gift of the party is that we've already talked about some hard topics. We've talked about safety, and we understand the need to invest in inner city safety issues. We understand the need to work with communities, invest in that, in the infrastructure. So you have to be careful about assuming that we can play nicely with others.
And you smile. So obviously, again, Terry, thank you. Terry.
You know, there's no doubt 80% of Calgarians do not want municipal parties. 80%, 100% of Calgarians want independent councillors in there. Well, and 4 years ago, I started exactly that, being an independent councillor, engaged with the community, walking around, listening and learning, understanding what it is you want done in terms of the right things and done the right way to deliver value. This is the same councillor going forward. This council will continue to be serving independently. And you've seen that in the last few weeks, votes that I've made, which is counter to so-called the incumbency or the party, the team. More importantly though, as Heather said, you've got to get to that 8-vote majority, if not more. You've got to be able to work with the team. You've got to be able to work collaboratively. You've got to be able to get to a point where you can have rational conversations, not polarized conversations, which we suffered from in the previous council. When we say the team is just people who have the strength and confidence to do the job and work together. A party is a platform. which, community first is not. We can have conversations about, safety, this and that. But again, how we deal with safety downtown is a lot different than how they do it down south. At the end of the day, you're looking for individuals who can represent you with critical thinking and, most importantly, rational thought.
Myself, I'm running as an independent. Basically, the long and the short of it is, I represent you. You have a problem, you come to me. I take it to City Hall, we deal with it. If I have this is just me. I don't believe in the parties. I don't believe in having to answer to the parties. Getting feedback from them saying, we don't like this, we like that. No, if you tell me what you need, it's gotta get done. I go straight to the top. That's probably the easiest way I can answer this question. As an independent, one-on-one, and I go to more for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Excellent. Take a breath. We're coming down to the end. So final few questions. So I want to just give those brains a shake because here we go. We talked about density, but we've had a number of questions on affordability as a priority. And I think this is a great question because this is very specific. If affordability is a priority for you, and I would assume it is for all of the candidates, what's your strategy for implementing an affordability plan? David, we're starting with you on this one.
Absolutely.
Minute and a half.
Minute and a half, perfect, thank you. We absolutely need to address affordability, especially housing affordability. As I said before in one of my responses, our blanket rezoning and the growth that we have done, Calgary has built more homes than ever before. We are at a rapid rate, but that is the market solution. We have moved the dial on the market solution. We have supporting data that has showed the slowdown of price increases. Rents have leveled off. That's the market side. What we need to do now is we really need to lean in and we need to leverage the federal government dollars that are definitely on the table to really move on our non-market housing. That means we need to invest in not-for-profits that are organizing and running, whether that's Norfolk Housing, for example. We need to invest in trying to identify how we can get more housing co-ops, right? We need more of the Sunnyside housing co-ops and accessions so that the wait list isn't, years and years long. What we do then is we can look at creative financing solutions. We can look at changing our zoning regulations to allow for more of these diverse types of housing. We absolutely fundamentally need to invest in non-market. We've done a good job in pushing our market housing, but we need to move on non-market housing.
Thank you, David. Heather.
Yeah, there are some things that the council could actually mandate immediately that would help with the non-market affordable housing inventory. And I'm going to use an affordable housing project in Bowness as an example. It was a parcel of land that was sold to an organization called Trellis. And Trellis got a good deal on that land, which is great because they were a not-for-profit. They're building non-market affordable housing. What the city didn't do was rezone that property before they sold it to Trellis. So then it became incumbent upon Trellis to negotiate with the community to get the rezoning done in order to get that housing unit built. Well, that put them in conflict with the community, and Mr. Wong, you voted against this project to the degree that it has cost them millions and millions of dollars in order to get through an assessment process, which has now been passed as of August the 21st. So there are things that the city can be doing to ensure that they're selling parcels of land to nonprofits that are also already rezoned. We could be fast tracking them through the development process. We could be having them stewarded off the side of somebody's desk to ensure that we are getting non-market affordable housing to market faster.
Thank you, Heather. Terry.
I've been fortunate over the last, few weeks to be able to knock over, $12,000.
The number one issue when we talk about affordability, people complain about, is high taxes. People talk about taxes going up by 37% over the course of 3 years. How did that happen? Well, it happened because we were spending money on things that we shouldn't be spending on money on. We've been spending money on things, raising taxes, taking a share that you shouldn't have been taking a share for. When we shifted, non-residential taxes to your residences, you're paying for the business tax. You're paying for the business tax that should have been kept in the businesses. As a result of that, you're paying 37%. Those are things that you don't know happens in City Hall. Those are things we want to reverse back. We want to put taxes where it belongs so that your affordability means more disposable income so you can take care of things. Now within a city, yeah, we can change things in efficiency. We can change things in terms of fees. But one of the most important things that we could also do affordability is provide a living wage. Affordability is not just what you pay, but it's also the capacity to have the money in your pocket. And those are things we do to influence industry.
Derek?
The long and the short of it, low income housing. We need more low income housing. You can build as many multiplexes as you want, build whatever you want in this city. People still can't afford to live in there, so you can have a million places to live, but they can't afford. Calgary has to build them. City County has to build them, run them, and control them. Instead of giving the money to somebody else, say, here, go build it, you control it, you take the profit and whatnot, build it yourself. The money that comes into there can repay back Calgary. Instead of constantly giving money out and not getting any back. Low-income housing, Calgary needs to control it. People just gotta find the right spot for it.
Thank you, Greg. Mike?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of low-income housing sort of projects that the city is running. But yes, non-market housing is a huge piece of this. If you've ever seen the Sunny Hill Co-op, it's behind the curling club in Sunnyside. This is a fantastic place where people can get 3-bedroom rent for $1,700 a month, but the waiting list to get in there is 7 years long. That's not sustainable. There is a desire for this kind of housing. We need to bring it online. That's a piece of it, for sure. But then there's also a side that is influencing the market side of things. If we're going to be building all of this new building, we need to have ways that we're sort of influencing the outcomes of this kind of housing. And this can be done through things like in Vancouver, for example, they get density bonusing as a way to bring some non-market, more affordable units into those new builds as they're going up. So you're getting a mixture and you're not just having affordable housing complex here and then market rate housing here. You actually integrate the two and it's better for outcomes. It's been shown over and over and over again. There are also things like vacancy taxes that we can be bringing in. So Canmore just brought in a vacancy tax because they're having a real problem with housing not being actually lived in. That's what we're having a problem with too, right? We need houses over people's heads so we can influence both with the stick and the carrot, and we can use that money to pay for some of these non-market housing. And then we just need to generally make it more affordable with things like fare-free transit for kids.
Thanks, Mike. Another round of applause for that. Deep breath as we come to the formal end of the evening. There is an excellent question here that you're going to have a minute and a half to answer. And it's asking one concrete thing that would happen if you are actually elected councillor. So use this as a little bit of your minute and a half to say why you would be a good councillor and what's one thing that you would do as a new councillor. Heather, minute and a half, start with you.
Well, I think that the first thing that I would do is improve on the communications that comes from the city. I think that we get a lot of stuff that we can't really understand, that we can't interpret, that doesn't have clarity. So my commitment, if elected, is to be very present in community, to speak clearly through my communications, to make commitments and value statements in my communications, and to let you know why I've made a decision with clarity. I think that it's the role of a councillor to lead. I think that we need to let people know why we've made the decisions that we've made to justify them. But that's mine. My commitment is around communications.
Thank you, Heather. Harry.
The one commitment I made when I first came to council is what you told me back in 2021. Do you remember? Engagement. When we talk about the guidebook, we talk about the blanket zone, we talk about low area plan. You don't want to be told in a marketing sense. You want to be engaged, you want to be collaborated with, you want your voices to influence decisions. Public engagement is a thing that pushed for 4 years. We've been able to bring KPMG's $750,000 that you got study. In January, when we come back, we will get that report and we will ensure that your voices are heard and digested and become
set policy. That is the most important thing. If we don't do that, we defy public trust. If we defy public trust, we don't deserve to be here. You take over the last 6 years, 4 years, sorry, our trust numbers have never hit above 50% until recently. And we celebrated a D minus. That's not good. We need to be able to do better for you, public engagement, listening and learning, doing the right things. That's the most important thing.
Thank you, Terry. Great.
For me, it's transparency. What really aggravates me the most is they say what the public's input, what's your input, what hear what you have to say. But most of the time, the decision you make is made.
Yeah.
And then we tell you what just happened. But then, no, give us your opinion now. Well, it doesn't matter. That's what I feel. Me, I would like to be able to say, okay, we're talking about this particular topic. Let's go out there and talk to people. Don't make a decision first, then have people say, now what? That's what I'm pushing for. You have to be informed of everything that we do, especially major decisions. And blanket rezoning is something that's still a thorn in my side. Calgarians have said you don't want it, but they still live it anyway. So I'm thinking, well, did you decide this before? Because listen to what Calgarians tell you. Calgarians are not a difficult group. If they say we don't like it, 80% say we don't like it, don't do it. Come up with a different plan. Transparency for me.
Thank you, Greg. Mike.
Yeah, my big thing is just reinvestment in the inner city. It's what I've been talking about at the doors with people. It's just sort of bringing back a reinvestment into our inner city neighborhoods. We have been severely underfunded for many, many years on all kinds of fronts. Ward 7, where we are, and Ward 8 to the south of us, the two inner city wards, are the most tax productive per capita anywhere in the city. We generate a lot of taxes for the city, but right now that money is being scooped out of the inner city to pay for unsustainable neighborhoods that we've built for decades. And so what we need to do is we need to fix this problem so that we can bring some of that resourcing back into our neighborhoods, maintain our pools and our infrastructure, our rec centers, these kinds of things, invest in our pedestrian infrastructure, build the transit and the walkability and just getting around that we actually need to have to sustain the level of people that we have living in the inner city. We live already very dense, right? We are a very dense population. That is part of our tax productivity for the city. So now we need to make sure that we bring the rest of the city online, get them to pay for their own way, and at the same time, bring some of those resources back for all the people that have been moving here over the past couple of years.
Thank you, Mike. David.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Getting up to speed, learning and from community members and from administration, getting up to speed on the critical things, where things are at, that's the priority. It's that onboarding, right? It's the new job. I have strong policies in place. I have very explicit policies in place, already designed, already worked with and workshop that built by experts in housing, in transportation and mobility. I have those policies ready to go. I am committed to pushing those forward and moving on them faster. We need change. We need to address the housing crisis. We need to improve the investment in our inner city. We need to perhaps make sure that we understand our business to residential tax ratios as well, and what is legislated on that. Engagement is tough. It's having these tough conversations. We don't necessarily need $750,000 to tell us how to talk to our neighbors. We need to be able to listen, but we also need to be able to lead. We need to be able to communicate what is important and why we have arrived at a decision. That is what I can commit to you. And I will be listening from day one to community members and to admin and experts as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. And round of applause for our panelists. Oh, and deep breaths, because you guys are done. I want to thank you for participating. From what you heard tonight, I want to ask the question again. How many have heard something that influenced your voting decision this evening? Everybody should have their hand up, I think. I'm sure there's something that influenced you because you guys were excellent. I'd like to thank the Montgomery Community Association for hosting us. Again, Jeremy from the Sprawl for streaming our service tonight. Thank you. And while we are closing the formal part, we are not kicking you out till 8:30. So please stick around, meet your candidates and ask them any questions that you like that we did not get to cover. Have a great evening, everyone.